My headline today is Clinical Trial. Nighttime use of cannabinol, CBN, reduces sleep disturbances from normal. According to a placebo-controlled clinical trial, a 20 milligram gummy of CBN results in fewer sleep disturbances in participants who self-rated their sleep as either poor or very poor. The study was sponsored by Canopy Growth Corporation and Wana Brands. Investigators assessed the use of CBN combined with CBD, or placebo for 7 days. A cohort of 321 participants ate a gummy 90 minutes before bedtime. The primary endpoint was sleep quality. Secondary endpoints included sleep onset latency, which is a measure of how long you stay awake while trying to get to sleep, number of awakenings, overall sleep disturbances, and daytime fatigue. Subjects using CBN had significantly reduced number of awakenings and reduced overall sleep disturbances. There were no significant results with the other endpoints, and adding CBD to CBN did not improve the findings. Some subjects reported mild side effects, including headaches. The present study provides evidence to support the use of 20 milligrams of CBN alone for the improvement of sleep difficulties, the authors concluded. Future studies should continue to examine the potential side effects of CBN and compare them to side effects of other pharmacologic interventions for sleep. This is not the first study proving that cannabis products help with sleep. In 2021, a study sponsored by Australian Zarilla Therapeutics found that their tincture containing THC, CBD, and CBN 1 hour before bedtime improved scores on a sleep index. Another study performed by researchers at the University of New Mexico demonstrated that participants consuming flower also reported better sleep. Cannabis flowers that were higher in CBD potency, like type 2 flowers, performed better as a sleep aid than type 1 high THC flowers. Another reason to stock type 2 in your stores. Previous studies have affirmed that CBN improves sleep. That's been known by cannabis users for quite some time. This new study may be useful news to those who cannot test positive for THC but need a good night's sleep. 20 milligrams of CBN may be all that's needed. Regarding whether CBN tests positive with urine tests designed to detect THC metabolites, the answer is yes, but weekly. It takes anywhere from 5 to 20 times a THC dose to turn positive. As usual, dosage matters. CBN is non-psychoactive, can be derived from the hemp plant, and is legal. If you need to pass a drug test, make sure the product you take is made from isolate CBN. Broad or full spectrum products are likely to have traces of THC. This is your public service announcement from Dr. Jean Talleyrand at Hyatt 9 News.
This is huge news. Dr. Mark, you want to chip in on this one?
Yeah, so like Dr. Talleyrand said, there is a lot of anecdotal information about CBN and a lot of studies that have been looked at for treatment with full spectrum cannabinoids. But I am not aware of any other clinical study that's published in the open literature that specifically is looking at CBN's impact on sleep. Dr. Talleyrand, are you aware of any other? I know that there was some Japanese research where they were looking at derivatives of CBN, so they were actually making new molecules, but CBN itself in a clinical setting, I think part of the reason it's interesting when he mentioned who paid for it. So who paid for this? Wana and who else? Wasn't there another?
Canopy
Yeah.
Growth.
Okay. So people who basically have a dog in the fight here, right? Because Wana sells gummies, and certainly they could put CBN in a gummy now and say, "Hey, you want a gummy for going to sleep at night?" Now, I think it's a fine line of making a medical claim that's proven in an FDA sanctioned clinical trial. This could be a clinical trial that put together with other clinical trials around safety, around patient demographics. So, does this work in diabetic patients? Does this work in overweight patients? Does this work with patients who are on 10 other medications? All those types of studies need to be done in order for the FDA to say, you know what, we give you approval for this because you've shown us in a diverse section of the population that the active ingredient is effective. It has what's called a therapeutic window. And if the therapeutic window gives the patient better sleep without causing all these other side effects. I mean, certainly cannabinoids do have side effects. And I think Dr. Talleyrand could admit, too, not all cannabinoid treatments are going to help you with sleep. In some cases, cannabinoids could actually do the biphasic response, which is actually give you insomnia. So you have to be very, very careful. It's very interesting here too about that they looked at the combination with CBD. I think anecdotally, it's thought of in the in just general population that CBD also helps with sleep. But this, I believe, and Dr. Talleyrand, correct me if I'm wrong, I think is the first publication of clinical study in humans that show that CBN improves sleep. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did check into that. There is a review article out of 2021 that looked back at some 100 studies with CBN, and most of the studies had combination CBN with other
Right,
things, and the CBN dose was usually less than 5 milligrams. Uh,
right,
so
right.
this is really the first one out the gate that's got 20 milligrams CBN. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting news in terms of finally taking a step forward. We do need better measurements. This is self-reported measurements. There could be a placebo effect happening, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, because of all of the conversion chemistry that's going on with hemp, CBN isolate is now an available cannabinoid. Up until recently, it really wasn't too available. CBN is the degradation product of THC that does naturally occur as a degradation product of THC. But only until recently have these hemp suppliers been able to perfect the conversion chemistry of CBD into THC and then the oxidation to CBN isolate. CBN isolate is now readily available as a white powder. CBN used to be sort of like just this dark oil that you turned your THC oil into. But now it's so interesting that a white solid comes out of that really dark oil,
Mm.
purified.
I have a quick question.
Dr. Mark,
If
Dr.
you guys
Mark, are
don't
you
mind.
saying that white is better?
Not when it comes to skin.
What's
You
your
know,
question, Chris?
I'm in the school where look, put me and John right next to each other. We're all colored people, man. Everyone's if you see a white person walking on the face of the earth, I want you to give me a call. I've never seen white people. We're all colored people, man. We're all colors, man. All colors of the rainbow, dark and light. But I'll
I was,
just
I
go
was, I
back.
was talking about race, man. I was talking about medicine, bro. What you
I-
talking about?
I'll just go back to
I
that
bet.
medicine. So
I bet.
when I know that a crystalline compound should be white, when I see it, if,
Yeah.
if it's either yellow or off-white, it's not as pure. So white would just be an indication that there's no other oxidative degradation components that are dirtying the mixture. So CBN itself is a white crystalline compound. THCA is a white crystalline compound. If you ever see those in less pure forms, they are going to be colored. But hey, man, color is beautiful.
What's your question, Chris?
My question was for Dr. Mark. He made a comment about, and I haven't heard this before, but I think I may have experienced it. That after taking a gummy and I expect to go to sleep, I actually feel that I can think of one night in particular where I felt like kind of had insomnia. Right, I couldn't really shut it down and go to bed. And I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that comment because you said it could have the opposite effect.
He wants you to elaborate on the fact of taking a gummy before bed and for times when people can't sleep. Dr. Mark, did you get
He's
that?
asking me this question?
Yes.
I'm not the medical doctor. I'm a chemist, right? I can take.
So
I'll just defer to
THC,
John.
I was just following up on
Yeah.
the comment you made. You said it could have an adverse effect. So that was my question, because I think I may have experienced that. I was just curious.
So THC is stimulating. People say it makes them sleepy. It's probably the after effect of THC. There's a sleep circadian rhythm that cannabinoids or the cannabinoid receptors interact with. And so generally, when you have your highest endocannabinoids, is during your awake time, and when you have your lowest endocannabinoids is during deep sleep time. So how does that work with THC, which is a phytocannabinoid from a plant? Well, generally from reports, THC is stimulating, and it's really the after effect. In Mexico, they call it bajando, which is after you're high, you sort of come down, and that's when people get that sleepy effect, the post effect. So often people will mix other things like CBD to sort of stimulate or hurry that effect along, and make CBD and make the sleepy effect, the bajando effect, come sooner. So sometimes they'll mix THC with CBN or THC with CBD. I was just at a dispensary yesterday, and they were promoting CBN as the medicine that keeps you asleep. This is sort of one of the first evidences that says that maybe the dispensary could be right, although I don't think they read the study.
Man, this is super fascinating, Dr. Talleyrand. I'm so glad you covered this, and I personally, I'm just really glad to finally see some actual studies that are actually paid for by the industry, so they're not as, I mean, of course, Project Sam will say that they're biased to show a positive effect of cannabis and whatnot, but the reality is that we've always have had the exact opposite, which is everything has had a bias against cannabis. And so I'm just glad that we finally have some positive news coming out, and basically a lot of people are now getting proved right that we're just only to base their opinions based off of anecdotal evidence.
I guess you got to give it to the MSOs then. I mean, this is sponsored by some MSOs.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's sponsored by Canadians. They're a Canadian company.
Well,
they're not
Wana.
an MS. They are not an MSO. They are a Canadian
Wana
company.
is not Canadian.
Yeah, Wana got bought.
Wana
Wana got bought. Wana got bought. Wana's not. Wana got bought by Canopy.
But they're not Canadian though.
Oh, really?
Canopy is Canadian. So therefore,
Yes,
Wana is
so
now a Canadian company. It was originally an American company, but it got bought by Canadians, so now they're Canadian.
They got a blank check. Yeah, they got a blank check from Canopy, and 300 milli. Big shout out to Mary.
Yeah.
Out there, 300 milli, and she's doing great stuff with it. She's funding social equity projects. She's funding clinical research. Like, this is the best way to spend money. Period. If you have a huge come up,
I could show her way better ways to spend money, Rico, but it's okay. But
maybe you can buy a new house speaker. How about that?
Yeah, cute. You know what I mean? Cute, and cute. We're gonna